Welcome back to another episode of the Jesus Cartel. With me, per usual, Mr. Clay Russell. Something just crossed my mind, and I want to ask you about it. So we've been doing the show almost 3 years, I think, something like that. I think we're nearly done with our third year.
Yeah, I think we're going to complete 3 years.
Yeah, and so we have had the same logo picture in the same entry music since we started. We obviously would never change the name. The name is perfect. But are we at the point where we need to do some freshening up? Do we need to change our opening picture? Do we need to alter the intro music? Is that something we should do?
Look, so my job is to show up and to talk about whatever you say. Your job is everything else. It's hard to believe that a little over 3 years ago, we didn't even have a name.
That's right.
So we're in the middle of February right now, and I remember for sure in February we didn't have a name. And so we were talking about doing a podcast, but we wouldn't do a podcast because we didn't have a name.
The name was a joke.
Right, yeah. And then Stephanie come up with it as a joke just to get us to quit talking about it. And next thing you know, it stuck. And it was perfect. So the name's great. As far as whether people listen to us based on our logo or based off of the interest music, I think they listen to us because of me.
No, agreed.
It's that.
It's definitely that. What I'm saying is, do we owe it to those loyal listeners to spruce
to change the world in which they know,
to spruce things up
King
a bit?
Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah.
He preaches one sermon and all of a sudden telling to go. Yeah.
I actually ended up preaching 2 sermons on King Nebuchadnezzar and changing the world in which
He was pretty cool.
We're going to change your name.
Yeah.
He was a brilliant man. Yeah, a lot of people give him difficulty, but he was brilliant. He was just a narcissist. So, man, that is all you. Or we could ask the listeners.
Yeah.
They may care. I really don't care.
If you would care for a different picture and some different intro music, let me know. May change some things up.
Amen.
May not. But, so I normally this is the point where I ask you what's been going on lately, but I want to tell you something that has happened with me. So my whole life, and you just made me think of it when you said something about changing your name, because I was like, what would I change Clay's name to? And the name that came to my mind, always comes to my mind, is Steve. So 90% of the time when I'm preaching sermons and I'm using like a random name, there's 2 names that I use. I use Steve and I use Jim. Those are the 2. I don't know why. It's just like if I'm going to make up a person that doesn't, I always use Steve or Jim. And I used to use Jim a lot. And then when I was at Pecan Haven, I worked with the Jim. And so I stopped using Jim because I didn't want people to associate what I was saying with that Jim that, maybe I was subliminally like talking about him. And so I kind of peeled away from using Jim. And I wasn't ever talking about Jim, but it could come across that way to people who didn't know better. And so I had to make a change. Well, now recently, I've become really close with a Steve. And so do I go back to Jim because I don't see Jim anymore? I feel like that's where I'm leaning. I'm leaning on shifting back to Jim because I don't work with Jim anymore. I don't see Jim anymore. I think that I would be in the clear because I've been away from Pecan Haven like 3 years-ish now. I mean, yes, it's definitely since we've been shooting the podcast. And so I think I'm in the clear to go back to Jim. And I really don't want to make another random name. And so what help me out. Help me out.
I can tell you my opinion. I have a strong opinion on
Okay.
it. My opinion is you're talking about shifting back to Jim. That sounds like a justification for going back to your old ways. I'm not really into that. I think that you need to start something new in your life, and you need to come up with another name.
Burning the
Now,
boats
I
than
will,
I am.
I will
I
say
am
this.
the boat burner. I have a hat. Do you have a hat?
I do like Steve, and I think I burned a pretty big boat. Second
place.
I like the name Steve and I like the name Jim because they're two good manly names, and I'm glad that you chose them.
Those are good names.
Those are good names. They're good manly names. We were talking about names the other day, and man, there's some bad names out there, and with some negative connotations. Those are just good, solid, manly names. I would like to see you come up with another good, solid, manly name. We're not trying to go back.
Man, I just don't even know what I would use. Do you have a suggestion? Like, I don't know, Steve and Jim
But they're not the only good names.
We're talking about good names that also I don't have like close people tied to those names.
So the names that I used to use in illustrations is Jack, Jill, and Jim. That's the
So
three.
you got a Jim too.
Yeah, that's right.
And now you're telling me
Yeah.
not to use a Jim,
And
even though you got one in the hopper.
I got one in the back pocket that I don't use anymore. Yeah, we hide him.
Jack, I got a Jack. I can't use Jack. No,
But is he a good Jack?
I got two of them.
Then everybody would think that you're talking about
Yeah,
him.
and they're both trash.
Yeah, and then every time you gave a negative story,
Yeah.
they would think that
They would
you're
just
talking.
pick one of the Jacks.
And they're like,
they'll
it's
know.
got to be
Yeah,
him.
Yeah,
He resembles these remarks.
yeah. One of them's in my youth.
Oh.
He's one of my favorite youth, actually.
Yeah.
But
And
it's
one
actually
of-
how I met the other Jack as well.
And the other one still acts like a youth.
He was one of my favorite youth when he was in youth, and now I got another one. So maybe I need to stop being around youth people. I don't know.
I don't know. I really do think that you need to come up with another person. Because you do use a lot of illustrations like that,
do.
where you just pick a random person or a random name. Seems random.
Well, we
name.
see Jesus teaching parables so often,
Yeah.
and he does it for a reason, because it's easier for people to digest. And one of my favorite compliments that I get a lot of times when I preach, and I'm not saying this to brag about me or say I'm a great preacher, but on the occasions that I am complimented, it's usually because of how easily the person said the information was to digest. Mm-hmm. That's my favorite compliment to get. It's just that I was very clear. It's like, hey, I understood exactly what you were saying. I understand exactly what you were communicating. Doesn't necessarily mean that it was good information, but it was clear. Yep. And that I believe I attribute that to the teaching stylings of Jesus, which I try my best to emulate. Yep. Because if there's a guy you want to copy, that's the one. And he just used illustrations. He used illustrations of the day. Hey, if you had an ox stuck in a ditch, and it's like people can grab that. And so, I take these situations, but I don't want to target people. And so,
you target Steve.
And so I target these random. Well, now I got a Steve. Now I already had a Jim, and I'm just running out of reliable names. And I don't.
There's some other good reliable.
I don't want to
names.
use any of these. Like, I hate. There's just a lot of weird names out there nowadays. And I say that, mind you, fully aware that my children have unusual names. Mm-hmm. And so I do feel the hypocrisy of it.
And you wouldn't use those names as random illustrations.
Sure.
I wouldn't either. Well, good. That was riveting information. But I have something I need to say. Because the Bible says to confess your faults one to another.
I hope this is what I think it is.
The Bible says to confess your faults one to another so that you can be healed.
Okay.
Now, I feel like today I'm healed, but I still feel like I should confess my faults one to another. Because I was thinking the other day, sometimes we don't do that out loud in front of Jesus Cartel. Mm-hmm. So I made a mistake, and it cost me several days. And so here's what happened.
Oh, this is it.
Do you think so?
I think it's it. I'm so excited.
I didn't
Please
know
be
you
it.
knew.
Please be it.
So this is what happened. So Sunday.
This is it.
So Sunday I preached at church. After church, had a wonderful meal prepared by Miss Amber Dean, and we ate good. And then right after that, ran to do an event at Mangum with my friend Hayes Womack. And then as soon as I skipped out like halfway through that, put Cooper in charge, ran home and cooked some food real quick, had some food ready to have a little Super Bowl party. Only had a few friends over, 2 friends over, and Cooper, he doesn't count. And,
sorry I couldn't make it.
Yeah, so it was real quick, just happened to deal, and so I had the closest people to me there, and had a little Super Bowl party.
How many other podcasts you got?
So, with that being said, so as soon as everybody got there, we paused the game and we ate. And then we watched the game and we caught up, like flipping, and I'm in charge of the remote. And so we caught up. once we caught up, sometime in the first quarter, then I never quit eating the rest of the night. I mean, the rest of the night. Never made a plate. Just back and forth to the kitchen.
I understand. That's the worst eating.
Right.
Because
and
you
it might
have
have
no
been
idea about your portions.
Right. It might have been just to go get some punch because they had a shower at the house earlier today. It
Not
might
the
have been
sherbet
to go,
punch.
No, it wasn't a sherbet punch. But it was decent punch. And it wasn't as unhealthy as a sherbet punch.
I love sherbet punch. I was about to be hot.
It's one of my
son.
favorites. And it probably is my favorite punch. But anyhow, with that being said, just back and forth to the kitchen all night long. Well, ball game's over. Becky's long gone to bed. Me and Chris and Jeff clean up the kitchen like good husbands do and everything. And then it's time to go to bed. And I realized it's pretty late. So instead of setting my alarm for 4:30, I set my alarm for 5:30 and decided that I wasn't going to go work out Monday morning. So then I don't go work out Monday morning.
Oh, man.
And then the
Not a good
rest.
start.
So Monday morning I weigh and I'm 2.5 pounds heavier than I was Sunday morning, right? And so I'm 2.5 pounds heavier, and I'm not, and I didn't work out. And so during the daytime, Monday, I didn't feel great, and just, felt a little sluggish. Wasn't terrible, but just a little sluggish and stuff. So Monday night, I ate a good solid supper, knowing that, I ate some boiled shrimp that we already had and little potatoes, no fat in them, and just trying to, do good there. And the next morning, I'm 2 pounds heavier than that. So now I'm 4.5 pounds heavier from Sunday morning to Tuesday morning, right? And so, most people would say, well, just drink a lot of water and flush the sodium out. No, it wasn't sodium, it was food. I mean, I ate actual food. It wasn't just that I ate bad food, it was food. Now, Monday, it was the sodium from the boiled shrimp, I understand. But so Tuesday morning, I'm 4.5 pounds heavier than I was on Sunday. So I decided, hey, look, I'm just not going to eat today. I ate enough on Sunday, not going to eat today on Tuesday, right? So I decided not to eat. So, I'll drink a little Fairlife protein shake and water, and that's really it. So that's what I was doing on Tuesday. Well, about Tuesday mid-morning, I find out that my meeting for that night has canceled, and Cooper and I can go play racquetball. And so I'm like, man, this is a great opportunity. Me and Cooper get to go play racquetball. We don't get to play quite as much right now because of his new work schedule. So I was like, we'll go play racquetball. Well, I walk in the kitchen, and Devin's making grilled chicken. Just little grilled, boneless, skinless chicken tenderloins. Perfect thing. But I'm like, I need to eat that because I'm going to play racquetball. But no, I had made a decision that I was not going to eat because I'd ate too much on Sunday. So, didn't eat any, went home, drank another Fairlife on the way, and went to go play racquetball. So, all day I've had 2 bottles of water, 2 cups of black decaf coffee, and 2 Fairlife protein shakes. Going to play racquetball with my son, who's gotten a lot better at racquetball lately. I have to try hard now, and forgot my water outside. And said, okay, so first game, instead of me usually winning the first game 11-3, 11-4, I won 11-9. It was 9-9, and I won 11-9. Second game, same thing. It was 9-9, I won 11-9. I go to get some water, and the water fountains are broke, right? They're out of order or whatever. And so I refused to go all the way to my truck, and I refused to go buy water for $4. So, game 3, he beats me like 11-6. It wasn't even close.
Oh, smoked him.
Yeah. He had some aces on his serve, and it just hit right. Game 4, it was 9-9. And he beat me 11-9. Game 5, it was 9-9, and he beat me 13-11. Not only did he beat me, but I was sore, and my whole body was sore, and my shirt was wringing wet and stuff. So we get in the truck, and I'm glad that he did good. I want him to do good. I'm not glad that he did good enough to beat me. And so we go home. By the time I get home, 30 minutes later, my shirt is still wringing wet. It was that much. And so that night, went and got in the hot tub, watch a quick TV show, and go to bed, right? That was Tuesday. So Wednesday, which was yesterday, I didn't eat breakfast. I wait, and for lunch, I ate me a turkey sandwich. And then last night, I ate a couple things that were good for me, not supper or whatever. And then I felt great all over again, got in the hot tub, felt 100%. this morning, ready to go. Set my alarm 4:30. Went and worked out. Feel like a champ. Best workout I've had in a little while. And now I'm back 100%. And my weight is back to, lower than what it was. And so now I'm great. But today's Thursday.
Yeah.
And I'm just now great again because of what I did on Sunday.
And it's too late. It's already cost you.
Yeah, it cost me $5. Now, you would say, okay, well, that may not be a terrible story, but you've never had an 18-year-old son.
Yeah.
Who is now
when I said
beat
it's
his
already
dad.
cost you, that's
Yeah.
the only thing I'm thinking
Yeah,
about.
that's what I'm
I could
saying.
care less about the week.
Right.
You can't get that back.
You can't get it back.
Oh, man.
And so now you think about the moment that Devin was in there cooking these delicious, boneless, skinless chicken tenderloins. I mean, I only had to eat like 2 of them, and it would have gave me, like 40 grams of protein or something. But because I had made this vow to myself, which I take pride in, but let me just say this, just so everybody knows.
Man, this is hard.
I wasn't fasting in the name of the Lord.
Yeah.
It had nothing to do with the Lord whatsoever. I wasn't eating because I overate
it was corrective.
on Sunday.
Yeah.
I was correcting my mess up on Sunday. So this had nothing. I didn't spend more time with the Lord on Tuesday. I spent more time being mad at what I did on Sunday.
Which is, and what he's saying is, so he could have had the chicken tenderloins.
Right.
It would not have been a violation of a
A moral code. I mean, with God, a spiritual code. But for me, I had made a decision based on what I had done the day before.
Well, look, I'm gonna say a couple of things.
Yeah.
One, I think you made the right call not eating the chicken. I would have done the same thing. And even though it did cost you something, I think that integrity to oneself is sometimes worth the difficulty that you have to deal with
I agree
later.
with that.
And so
The repercussions.
And so, hey, the fact that when you say you're going to do something, you held to that, despite the fact that it would have been advantageous for you to violate your word to yourself. I'm actually in favor of what you chose.
That's a big deal. And so I didn't, so Sunday, I never said I wasn't going to eat. It's a Super Bowl party.
Yeah.
I ate more than I should have. At the Super Bowl, I didn't say I wasn't going to. But because of the scale and because I know that it's true. I mean, it wasn't just water weight. I knew I overate, and so I decided to do something about it. Now, did it cause me some pretty difficult repercussions? Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
But like you said, holding your integrity at a high level is worth it in the end.
That's good.
Now, I don't know what God's, going to do through this. I know that my son hasn't spoke to me the same since.
Yeah, no, and he won't. That's it. I mean, what I'm hearing is we demand a recount. That's what I hear. I think this is a fraudulent win, and I think he needs to beat you on your best day.
I want to say this: he beat me fair and square.
It was fair,
and I hate that.
It was
I
fair.
wish that I could claim something else.
It was fair, but I don't know if it was square.
But it was.
You know what I'm
but
saying?
but if it wasn't square, it's my fault.
I don't disagree
That it
with
wasn't
that.
square. All he did was show up at the right place at the right time and do what he was supposed to do.
I agree fully that it is your fault. Yeah. I just wouldn't say that this one was above board. It's like, outside of Michael Jordan, who plays well with the flu? You know what I mean? And so it's that's tough.
So, that's my confession for the day. Now, I want you to know that, we're serious when we talk about stuff like that. It was something that happened that shouldn't have happened to the degree, and then there's repercussions from it that we have to deal with. This conversation is not a joke. It's a real life situation that we deal with. I'm just glad that I'm at the point in my life where we can notice things like that. Yeah. There was a time in my life where I wouldn't have noticed that I overate, or I wouldn't have noticed that I was a little sluggish because of a reason. I might have felt just a little sluggish, but I wouldn't have thought, hey, that's my fault, or hey, I need to do something about it, or hey, I need to draw this hard line even if it cost me. And I knew when I didn't eat that chicken that going and playing racquetball was a dumb idea. But at the same time, I'm not going to go against my word to myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not going to go not spend time with my son
Yeah.
in a way that we really enjoy spending time
To
with each other.
protect your ego.
You know what I'm saying? And so it's,
that's
you
good.
know, losing was the best of the three evils as far as in my mind,
I know,
even though
completely. Yeah, sure.
I didn't like it.
Yeah.
Yep.
The for a free tip for our viewers, you talked about, sodium, flushing sodium, stuff like that, and I won't spend a lot of time on it. But for those of you who don't know, when you have an excess of salt intake, sodium intake, your body holds water. More so than it normally does, significantly more so than it normally does. So if you ever have like a morning where you wake up and you're just like way heavier than you're used to being, you had like a strange fluctuation up, it's probably because you had a lot of salt that day and your body is being greedy with the water. And it's just a normal function of the body. And so like when I'm training fighters and they have to cut weight for a fight, we do a water cut the day before the fight. They're not allowed to eat salt the week that they fight. The entire week they can't have salt, because if they do have salt, their body's not going to let go of that water very easily. It makes the cut very hard. The last two fights, I think that I cornered somebody or did their weight cuts at least. I don't know if I cornered them, but one of them didn't listen and ate a bunch of salt, and it was like 2-3 hours in and he had lost like 1.5 pounds, something real small. It was not good. The other guy did listen, and in about half an hour lost like 6 pounds. And so it's a whole it's very serious deal. So watching your salt intake is it's just water weight. But sometimes people say that they feel like puffy, like all the time, stuff like that. That's usually because of too much salt, too much sodium.
Yeah, I mean, Monday, the weight was high because of actual food that I ate too much of.
Sure.
And some of it more sodium than usual because of some
as
of
I
the
say,
things.
you can't usually do one without the other.
No,
if
that's
you
right.
eat excess
It's
of
a
food,
little
you're
difficult.
also going to have an excess
Right,
of salt.
but then Tuesday's weight wasn't because of excess eating. I didn't eat that much.
Yeah.
It's what I did
You ate an
eat was
extreme
high
amount
in
of
sodium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
So it was the wrong thing to follow it up with.
Yeah. That's a
You
tough.
know,
tough
if
one.
you're worried about what the scale says.
But an all-day fast outside of protein shakes, and then a strenuous racquetball game will get some corrective, corrective water.
Now, well, the other side of it
real
is I
fast.
probably should have drank more like 5 or 6 bottles of water.
Yeah.
But I went up to playing racquetball with 2 16-ounce waters, 2 black coffees, and 2 12-ounce
Didn't
protein
bring
shakes.
water inside.
And then bring the water inside.
That's tough.
And so,
Yeah,
anyhow.
you handled that about as bad as you could have in favor of your performance.
Yeah.
I demand a recount.
I did just want to share that because of several reasons. Number one, to let you know that, hey, we do make mistakes, and mistakes that we make can have some pretty negative consequences. Is number one. Number two is I'm glad that we're at a point in our life where we can notice things like that. Number three, we have to stand on our integrity, especially our integrity to ourselves. I think it's a huge deal. And when you're able to do that, I think that's a big deal. And then number four, sometimes you have to take the lesser of 2 or 3 evils,
So I often think about my children potentially beating me at things. This is something that I think about because it's kind of a rite of passage. It's a cool thing. It's not a bad thing. It's a cool thing. You want them to earn it, obviously, but it's a neat thing. And so, but I've often considered whether or not it's going to be possible. And I don't mean that I'm a decent athlete. I've considered whether or not it's going to be possible for my daughters to beat me in a physical contest, being that I am a male and I do take care of myself. I've never stopped training. And because my youngest, who is just turned 4 a couple days ago, when she's 18, which is probably going to be her peak athleticism, because women don't tend to continue playing like pickup sports beyond their high school years. Men do, but women typically don't. That's 14 years from now. 14 years from now, I'm 48.
Yeah,
I'm not extremely old. You know what I mean? I would imagine I'll still be in pretty reasonable shape and still be a significant amount stronger than them. It's more reasonable for my son to eventually, because male genetics, testosterone, all those things, he's going to get very strong. And so I could see how, but I've considered whether or not it's going to be possible for them to beat me in a physical athletic contest. But recently they've started golfing. And golf, with them being able to play the women's tees, which takes away the strength advantage that I'm going to have, the distance carry advantage that I have. And let me just tell you, Aria can be as good as she wants to be at golf. She has I wouldn't say she's taken to anything naturally, athletically. She's extremely coachable, which, pays massive dividends, but nothing has come naturally. She has got an incredible golf swing. It is pretty. I mean, it's almost correct, and having no training, no practice. And so it's like when I watched her pipe a couple of drives out the other day, probably 110 yards, with no practice. And I mean straight drives. I was just like, oh, there it is. This is going to be the rite of passage game for her, for sure. And I'm excited about the prospect.
So there was two things, because every dad has that mentality, especially if you raise boys first, or whatever. And but with us, we're extremely competitive, so we had that even with the girls and stuff. So there was two things that Annalise beat me at by the age of 12, and I would think that Aria could beat you at those two things by the time she's 12.
This must have been obscure.
No, not at all.
Were athletic things?
They were things.
Okay. Yeah,
that
not the same.
She could be it. I mean, are we only worried about athletics in life? No.
Yeah, so rite of passages historically.
No.
We're talking about the historical rite of passage was always a physical contest.
I understand that in a caveman type world.
That's who I am, brother.
But there's
I am
two
a Neanderthal,
things.
brother.
There's two things.
Give me stick.
That will make
Show
you
me
very
fire.
proud of her.
That
I think she could beat you at by age 12. Because
see.
Annalise beat me at both. And I think she beat me at the first one. She was 10, I think. But the second one was 12. Now, I'm not saying she couldn't have beat me before, but it was the first time that she did it.
Okay, what was it?
Number one, she won a spelling competition against me.
I'm a dog.
No.
I'm a dog.
And the second thing is,
call Annalise right now.
She beat my ACT score at 12. Now, I only took it once, and I was 16.
Yeah.
But she smoked it at 12. And I would think that Aria could do both of those things.
I don't think she's going to beat my ACT score.
Never know.
I only took it once when I was very young.
Yeah.
But I scored
pretty sharp.
Scored really high.
She's got a better teacher than you do.
That's true. And she cares a lot more than I do. The problem is I'm an uncanny test taker because I don't stress at all. And I was talking with my little sister's about to take the bar, and we were on the phone yesterday having this exact conversation. And I was like, "How are you on tests now?" And she's like, "Yeah, I got a bit of anxiety about it." And I said, my mentality has always been, the work is in the preparation. When you go to take the test, you know what you know. It's either going to work out or it's not. Just fill out the paper. Just do it. Now the bar, I told her, the bar's a little different than that, but just. You know what you know. There's no reason to freak out about it. All the anxiety comes in the prepared time. The test time is the easy time. That's just the revelation of it. And so it's always been interesting. People have always like, "Oh, I'm smart. I'm not a good test taker." I'm like, that doesn't check out, brother.
Everybody's different.
Doesn't check out.
I see a lot of those same qualities in Aria.
Yeah.
And I think she will. My money's on her.
I don't think so, man.
Yep.
I don't think so.
Now, I could make it happen.
Yeah.
If I wanted to be in manipulation.
I don't think you could do it.
Oh, yeah. Cooper made a 36 in English the other day. We know how to take the test now.
Yeah.
We could teach her how to take the test.
I don't think she's going to do that.
Yeah.
But college is a scam anyways, so we'll see whether or not she even goes. Or is going to be an electrician.
Do we have a get to know you segment question?
We do. We have kind of fired through. I'd almost like to
we can skip it.
Just put that one in our pocket
That'd
for
be
next
fine.
week because we're a good bit in.
I think they learned a lot about us during that time.
We had a client
Okay.
who asked a question, right like minutes before we started, and man, you said that someone had asked a great question, and this was a legitimately great question. And you may have to correct the wording a little bit, but the way that I understood what he was asking is that when do we know the difference between when to command things in the name of Jesus and to humbly request things from Jesus? And in all my years of ministry, I don't know that I've ever been asked that question.
Yeah.
It's a great question, but I don't think anyone has ever just directly asked me that question. How awesome, first off, that you're even thinking on that plane. Congratulations to that young man. Secondly, where do we begin on a subject like that?
He asked a lot of questions, and he asked a lot of questions during IOP and stuff, and enjoy those questions and enjoy that time, and everything. But when he asked this question the other day, I was like, man, that would be really better suited for Jesus Cartel. Mm-hmm. And here's the reason why, because it's going to be a very opinionated answer. It's going to be some discussion. I don't know that, we're going to give, a certain amount of steps to reach this or, whatever, like we are sometimes. I just think it's a great question. And, and this is a guy that asks great questions. He legitimately wants to know things, and all his most of his questions are good.
Man.
But this one was the best.
I think you and I might land in different spots here.
You never know.
Just the way that you described how you felt about it.
Yeah.
So here's what I want to do. I'd like you to answer first.
Amen.
I don't want to influence your answer.
Yeah.
Because I'm really curious of what you're going to say.
Right. So I haven't thought about it. He asked it the other day.
Yeah.
And then this morning as I was warming up my coffee, I told him to ask the question again because I couldn't remember what it was. But I don't have just some clear-cut answer. I don't. I think it's more something that would be up for discussion. Mm-hmm. And I'll tell you why. Because I preached on the authority of the believer for weeks and went through several different authorities that we have, not as pastors, but as born-again believers, right? And so I preached on the authority to preach, the authority to baptize, the authority within the church, the authority over sickness and health, your sickness and your health, the authority over the enemy, all those kind of things. But then, I think it was like the last week of it, somebody had a need. A pastor friend in Africa's daughter was on her deathbed. And I stopped the service to pray, and I didn't command anything. Mm-hmm. I humbly asked God to heal her. Mm. And afterwards, a day or two later, somebody came to me and thought that I did that wrong, and kind of corrected me on it, and said that I should have stood more in my authority. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, I know the authority that God has given me, and I use it daily. Mm-hmm. But I also see God as that loving Father that I can come cry out to, and humble myself before, and love, and know that He's got my best interest at heart. Yep. So that's my intro.
Yeah. No, that's good. That's solid. So the first thing that I would say is, who are you commanding or requesting from? That's the first thing. Mm-hmm. If you're talking to Jesus, you command nothing. Mm-hmm. He does not move at your beck and call. He loves you. He's a Father. When you're speaking to Jesus, we are always requesting. Mm-hmm. We are never commanding the Lord. So let's make that clear right off. Now, there are things that Jesus, because Christ is on the inside of us, so the first thing you have to understand is there's a union between you and the Lord. Mm-hmm. You've become one. And so all things that are subject at His feet are, you have the ability to command. because of your union with Him, not because of yourself.
All those authorities I
Right.
went through as a
Right.
born again
And
believer.
so,
Right.
but to be clear again, it's because of Him. It's because of your union with Him. It's not because of you. He didn't just say, "Oh, you know what? I've decided Andrew is awesome. Therefore, he has now these authorities to speak to these things." It's, no. I've now joined myself together with Andrew, and because of such a union, now Andrew has the authority to speak to such things. So, infirmities and in situations, like, you have the ability to command those. Without question, we see examples of that all throughout Scripture. We see healing commanded. We see natural disasters commanded. We see all sorts of things commanded because of the belief in God. In the Old Testament, it was the belief that God had their back. There wasn't a union yet, but God had clearly established with certain men in the Old Testament. He was like, "Hey, if you go, I'm giving you authority, and I'm telling you that I'm standing behind you. I'm going to honor whatever it is that you say." And so we've got examples of that. But in the New Testament, there's a union. And so it's the same kind of deal. But instead of him saying, "Hey, I got your back," he's saying, "Hey, I'm literally with you."
Amen.
Like when you say it, it's as if I said it.
Yeah.
And so understanding that union is super important before you go off commanding things. Because if you start commanding things in the name of your own awesomeness, I can tell you the results are going to be zero. You're going to have no good things come forth from that. And it's also going to feed your ego and pride. I talked a lot about that this morning in class, how dangerous of a situation that is. And it happens. It happened to me when I was younger. And so you got to be mindful of that. The second thing is, what state of mind are you in? What state of being are you in? Unfortunately, reality in certain situations is that we're not always in a state to command things. There are times where we are grieving. There are times where things are more difficult. There are times that we find ourselves in the midst of situations that are a bit harder to stand in, and we will find a request to be a more a genuine move than a command would be. Sometimes I have seen people command things for the sake of commanding them, but you could tell even when they're saying it, they don't believe what they're saying. Like they feel defeated. They're saying the words, but you can see the defeat all over them. At those times, I think that it's best to appeal to the Lord the way that you described. It's not that they necessarily don't have the authority to command in that moment. I feel like they do. But if you're in a position where you wouldn't even believe yourself as you're commanding it, that's the time to go to the Lord and say, "Hey, look, I believe. Help my unbelief right here. Help my unbelief. Something's going on. I got some things, happening in my mind, and it's not allowing me to walk in the fullness of the authority that I know that I have. And so, Lord, I'm asking you as a father who loves me, who's always, I'm just asking you to step in here. Ask you to step in and do this on my behalf." And so I think that understanding that you never have the authority to command the Lord. There's never a situation where you have that. And you do have the authority to command anything that the Lord could command because of union. Not because of you, but because of union. So that's who you can't command. This is what you can command. Now the question is, when do you utilize this, and when do you go in the form of request? And I would say that that's more based on a state of where you find yourself at that moment. And as Christians, I wish that, I'll speak for myself, I wish that my relationship with Jesus was just this always. But it's really more like...
Right.
And so every now and then, I never go back below where I started, but I'll find myself in these little dips, these little valleys from time to time, and they happen over silly things, and it's always a me problem. It's never a him problem. It's always a me problem. I've lost sight of something. I get too involved in a situation. I stop seeing things through the eyes of the Lord. I stop seeing things through the eyes of eternity, and all of a sudden, for just a moment in time, our life here on earth feels like everything, and I see something wrong. In those times, it's best I request and not command, because I'm acting out of I can abuse authority if I am not seeing things clearly, and I try to shove something through anyways, because it would not be healthy for the Lord to honor that command, and so he's probably not going to. not because he can't, but because this would not be a good thing.
Right.
It would not be a good thing to honor this mindset. It would not be a good thing to honor the behavior. It would not be a good thing to honor the fact that I'm seeing the whole picture wrong. And unfortunately, it happens. I wish it never did. But sometimes, man, people will do something heinous, and I will see them not in the eyes of the Lord. And I see them as, it says, to no longer regard people.
Yeah. All of a sudden, you're playing judge.
Right. And so I'll see myself do that, and I'll act a certain way or feel a certain way about it, and it might take me a few hours to like course correct. Sometimes it does, and like I'll be at the house just stewing on something, and I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing? Like, I'm not seeing this right. Take a step back, take a deep breath, and it's like, okay, let's tack this another way. Mm-hmm. And so in those moments, not a good thing for me to start trying to command the entities and the stuff going on. Everybody wants to bind up Satan in all kinds of moments, and it's like right now the thing that needs to be bound up is me. Right. And there's a reason that Scripture tells us. It says that to pick up your cross. It says deny yourself and pick up your cross. It doesn't say deny the devil. It doesn't say deny the demonic spiritual forces. It says deny yourself. Why? Because I think that Jesus knew, I know that Jesus knew that truly the thing that would most often stand in our way is us. Yeah. It's our own mindsets. And for sure.
And if we're out commanding everything, that's just puffing us up and not, getting us out of the way and those things.
Right.
Yeah, I agree with all that. And just, good conversation there. And, like you said at the beginning there, we can command what we've been given the authority to command.
Correct.
And one of the authorities that we do have that I didn't mention in my intro is the authority to sit in heavenly places. Jesus, God placed Jesus, and then Jesus placed us, through the finished work of himself in those heavenly places. And so at times where my emotions are trying to get the best of me, or at times where I'm having, difficulties, in my mind, that's one of the things that I do is remind myself that I'm seated above those things.
Yeah.
Now, once I remind myself that I'm seated above those things, and that these small little cares of the world that we get so wrapped up in, don't matter, then I'm back to the place where I can see my authority, see clearly what needs to happen. But sometimes we do get in those places to where it's best that we just keep our mouth shut. Mm-hmm. Now, let's talk about some times where it's good for us to be, to show our authority. I gave that list. When you see a friend that is involved in something that they shouldn't be involved in, hey man, that's some time to use the power that Jesus has given you to be able to speak to him, to be able to pray for him, to be able to, have those hard conversations, with yourself. I had to do that. So, that's what I did to myself the other day, was claim back authority, over my body and what goes in it and those kind of things. And it's good to make some bold stands and to use that authority and to not let sickness take over your family and different things like that. But I think something that you just described is so important, that the preparation is done, that we're in the right mindset, right spiritual location, all those kind of things before we do those things.
Yeah.
Now people are going to say, and look, I preach it too. Hey, no matter if you've had a bad day or not, you still can do what God's called you to do. I'm not saying that you can't, and you still have the same authority. Yeah. I understand that, but I think that sometimes we need a reminder of number one, who the boss is, and number two, where we sit at, and get back in that seat.
That's good.
Yeah.
I had a buddy of mine call me a while back, and it was kind of supernatural because I hadn't talked to him in a while, and I just randomly reached out to him, and he was like, man, the Lord told me to call you and I didn't, and then you just reached out. He said I knew I had to call. And so we talked for a minute, and he was telling me that he was having a struggle with alcohol. And so we talked through it. We talked about identity. We talked about, some different things, to deal with that. And I just told him, in no uncertain terms, it's like, hey, you're free. You're free from it. You don't never have to do it again.
Right.
And I could tell on the other end of the phone that he hoped he was free. But he wasn't sure. Wasn't sure that he was free. And in that moment, I started to utilize authority.
Amen.
I started to speak the truth, the reality. It was non-negotiable.
Amen.
We weren't requesting. We were establishing something as a completed and finished product. Amen. This is not. And so you just mentioned, like, when is it good to do that? That was the time that was good.
Amen.
He needed to see that. And he needed to reframe his own thinking, but he needed me to be bold and strong so that he could reframe his thinking. Because if I had let it go, and I could have, he'd probably still be drinking right now. And it would have been partially my fault because I had the opportunity to express that authority and didn't. Now, I'm not saying that my expression of the authority is what healed him. That's not what I'm saying. What he was lacking in that moment, that was a, hey, I believe, help my unbelief moment.
Yeah.
Because he did believe,
right.
But there was just part of him that was like, well, what if it happens again? And that part was getting him.
Yeah.
And so I was like, hey, that's a choice. You're not destined to do this. If you do it, it's because you decided to. It ain't because that's who you are. Like, let's make some things firm. Let's draw some things in the concrete here,
right.
And let's just say it for what it is. If you do it again, it ain't because temptation has authority over it. It ain't because sin's got authority over you. It's because you wanted to.
Yeah, you haven't claimed the authority that God has given you.
Yeah, and so let's say it out loud. Let's speak some things, and let's move on. Let's let this be done. And
I think that's the reason why we would get a question like this is because people do see us walk around in confidence. They do see that we walk around in the authority that God has given us. They do see those things, and I think that's why they would ask us that question. But at the same time, we want them to know that there's a lot involved in that too.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like the preparation that we talked about. There's a lot of preparation involved in that, renewing the mind, knowing who you are, knowing whose you are, knowing what authority you have and what authority you don't have. You know, those kind of things. Those things are all important. And then you factor in that the person of the Holy Spirit lives inside of us.
That's right.
And he guides us into all truth, including knowing how to pray, knowing what to pray, knowing when to say and what to say, and knowing who to say it to.
That's right.
You know, and so I think that's a big, side of it is the discernment of the Holy Spirit telling us and leading and guiding us into those things. There are times where I feel, not emotional, but I feel like, hey, this needs to, if we're going to cast a demon out of somebody, hey, we got the authority to do that. We know that. We're going to be aggressive. We're not going to take all day. We're going to cast it out. It's going to be gone. But then there's other times where I need to be very gentle with a person. And I need to be able to listen to a person and not act like I got it all figured out, even though I might have it all figured out. But they need somebody to listen. They need somebody to be there. And then there's times where I can go to God and be like, look, God, this is not lining up with your word. This is not the way it's supposed to be. I don't understand this. And then there's other times where I'm like, God, look, you're the man.
Yeah.
And
let me be quiet.
We're in a tough situation here.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure you're aware of it, and let's go from there. Yeah.
There's a story of, and this will be the last thing for me. There's a story of the, I think it's called the persistent widow. Persistent widow, where in Scripture we see a widow repeatedly come to the judge requesting the same thing over and over and over again, and you could tell it's a very kind of nagging situation. It's not even done humbly. It's just annoying kind of, and eventually the judge just does it. Says, hey, look, due to your persistence, we're just going to go ahead and move this thing forward. And so it's like, on the one hand, And I've always kind of wrestled back and forth with those things because on the one hand it says, not to partake in vain repetition, and it's like, well, is it vain repetition for me to ask, or for the same things every day? Is it vain repetition for me to ask the Lord to protect my children and my wife every day? And it's like, no, that's not what he's talking about. He's not talking about, having a heart for your family and being thankful for the same thing. Like that's not the vain repetition. The vain repetitions is when you're just running in these circles in your prayer just to try to, continue. You want to make yourself sound powerful. You want to sound, like something. But so there are some things. There is a section of prayer that I pray every single day, and it is verbatim. I could write it down for you, and when you heard me pray tomorrow, you will hear that section in my prayer word for word. It's in there every single day, and those are the things that I'm most thankful for. Those are the things I'm most thankful for in all of life, and it has to do with what he did for me, and it has to do with the family that he's given me. And that section of my prayer life is static. It will not change. I will probably pray that till the day that I die, and it's a good thing. It's a good thing. And so I don't think that it bothers the Lord. I think it's a good thing just that he knows, like, hey, I'm thankful for what you did for me. I'm thankful for what you've given me. And it's much longer than that. It's much more detailed than that. But it is a section that will forever live in my prayers. And that's
last two things I got is I would say that is the best question that we've gotten from a Fresh Start client.
Oh, without question.
And it happened to come from a first phaser, so the rest of them need to step up.
Yeah.
The second thing is that a dear friend of mine stuck his head in the door about 20 minutes ago, so I'm going to go visit with him. Old David Flickinger come by to visit for just a minute.
Is that who that was?
That's who that was.
Oh, my goodness.
And so I'm going to go visit with him
this episode
before I go to the Women's Center.
Yeah.
Well, I knew that God really wanted to speak through that question, or I would have brought him in and let him do the rest of the episode with us. But I knew the question was good, and I knew it was right. So, love y'all.
Bye.